Hello, everybody, and welcome to The One Shot, a new show that we're doing at Fandom Roulette, where we look at an RPG, play it, and then review it. I'm Cody.
And I'm Joe. That felt
Does it
that
feel
felt
weird?
weird.
Does it feel weird doing it in reverse?
Oh my gosh. Well, no, because if you think about it, Cody, it's like, how beautiful is it to go from one syllable to two syllables?
I know, right?
It's like bum bum bum. This one's like bum bum bum.
It's
like,
true.
I know
100%.
I know that probably won't matter to fucking anyone in the audience.
Oh, absolutely
like,
not. They're like, okay, whatever.
to my musical brain, it's like putting something in like 5/4. Like,
Nice.
okay. So wait, real quick. This is actually the most bizarre side tangent I think I'll ever do on the podcast.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee that. But so I did marching band for like 8 years of my life.
You know, you struck me as somebody who did marching band.
Thank you. I take that. I'll wear that as a badge of honor. And,
no, all my friends were in like marching band or all that stuff. Those are the people that I hung out with. So this feels right, like on a cosmic scale.
Sure. Yeah. I think exactly. But I had a so one of the things about marching band is that it's like you can keep track of the beat in theory because your left foot is always going to land on like the 4, because so much of marching band music is done in 2s or 4s.
Sure.
So you can kind of keep track of the time in your head. And I had a doctor who she did marching band when she was in college, and she said that they had to do the Firebird suite, which is written in 5/4, which means that sometimes your right foot would be the downbeat of a new measure, and she said it was the hardest thing she ever had to do, and I can't comprehend how that would work. Like, it has broken. I've thought about it so many times. I'm like, why would you ever do a piece of music where the downbeat is on the right foot? That's insanity. Okay, go back to the show.
I wish I knew more about marching band to understand that reference, but for everyone out there who is a marching band,
if you got that reference,
yeah, I
hashtag one shot bando. Tweet at us.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna do more. We're gonna do more hashtags. We're gonna do more. We're gonna do more stunts.
Yeah. Oh,
we're gonna
more
do
stunts.
We're gonna do more explosions. I have my fireworks display ready to go in my attic, my recording studio attic.
Right.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about the game, since you were the one who recommended this for our first one-shot episode?
Hell yeah. Okay. So we are going to be talking so for our inaugural one-shot.
Yeah.
We are going to be talking about the game Worldwide Wrestling, which is a 2015 role-playing game by Nathan Paoletta. Apologies if I pronounced your name wrong. Which is published by NDP Designs. And so, this is, so just a little bit of backstory about this game. So what is it? Oh, good question, Joe.
What is it? What is it?
We're going to start off by, I'm going to start off by doing just a little thing here. So professional wrestling is kind of this like weird, there's kind of this just like there's like a weird thing surrounding it, I would argue, because it's one of those things where like how do I want to say this, because it's nothing, it's a weird thing in my head. It has a bit of a reputation, right? So it is like an athletic event, right?
Right.
These are athletes. They are fighting. You know, they're doing athletic feats. They're getting
rippling
picked up,
bodies,
thrown down, thrown around, things like that.
Yeah.
And it features larger than life personalities. Depending on the promotion that you watch, sometimes less than progressive ideas.
What?
And I feel like there's like an important thing, like an important growing moment, even if you're not necessarily a person who liked it as a child is like the realization that it is like staged, right?
The ring is a
so
stage, and the wrestlers are but the actors.
Yeah, indeed. And so like, so I feel like there's this fascinating thing about this, which is it is a fact that is used to both praise and deride professional wrestling. This notion of kayfabe, which is a technical word that is sort of the heightened reality of the world of the wrestling promotion. So the people in it, the arguments that you have with one another, the fights that you have with one another, because it's like, you know, there are some people who are like, don't you know that it's fake? And as if the tone is like, look at this foolish baby who is like watching this silly thing.
You know, and that was
like,
me when I was like 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was the
honestly.
asshole.
It's like, you know, it's all fake, right? But like, I feel like there is a certain level of fun to being an adult who's like, oh yeah, no, not only do I know it's fake, but like, I like the fact that it's fake, you know?
Right.
Because it's like fun storytelling. And also, just for the record, I was watching like a video once where I was listening to like WWE stars talking about their profession, and the one guy was like, I will tell you right now, those are real life ladders. So if you ever want to see how fake it is, like just hit a ladder a little too hard and see what it feels like. It is fake in the sense that they are not punching each other in the head like 300 times and giving each other brain damage.
What?
But like, they are being thrown around and hit with like real life like tools and things like that. But anyway, so Worldwide Wrestling is the thing about Worldwide Wrestling is it is trying to capture a couple of things. It is trying to capture the fact that pro wrestling is kind of like an American anime or a real life comic book, in that it, you know, features characters who are, you know, over the top, very gregarious, flamboyant, even if they're not necessarily gregarious in the way we think of as being gregarious, like everyone is over the top. There is no one who is like quote unquote like normal in a wrestling promotion. And you can even kind of tell the eras that certain wrestlers are from based on their gimmicks, which is arguably a similar thing with comic books, right? Like you can kind of tell a dude who came up in like the late 90s, early 2000s, because it's like, I wear like all black and like I have a Kevlar vest that I just carry around with me. And then like a legend from like the 80s is going to come out in like a bathrobe that is just like covered head to toe in sequins. So when it hits that spotlight, it's like a human disco ball.
Yeah.
Like, there are people who are very silly and flamboyant and over the top, and there are people who are very serious and intense and
moody
and like the, you know, like the gritty 2008 Christopher Nolan Batman.
Oh.
And so it's like, it's funny, right? Because it's like you can have in like a promotion, like a dude who is wearing his all black with his Kevlar vest, and then he's going up against a person who can summon like a literal demon from hell, who comes out and fights for him. And then who is that? Oh my God, it's a dude flipping off of a balcony like in Spider-Man. Like it's absurd and it's ridiculous and it's a lot of fun.
You know what? In this scenario that you've created, there's also in that same corner, Christopher Nolan, who is pretending to be Batman.
Oh my God! I mean, I'd watch it.
Yeah, and the gritty Batman, not like the silly old school Batman, but like yeah, like that's what I want. I want.
How great would it be if there was a match where all the different kinds of Batman fought each other?
Oh yeah, and like a wrestling ring, and like one of them is just like got like a cartoon sized like bomb over his head that he like throws around, and it never blows up or anything, but like it's just like a fun prop that he beats people with.
Hell yeah. So Worldwide Wrestling is an RPG that is designed to capture the feeling of watching a wrestling show. You get to build characters, you get to have feuds, win belts, and then you try to work your way up the ranks to become the most popular wrestler in the biz, or at the very least trying very hard not to get fired.
Oh yeah.
So nice.
Yeah,
Macho
do you
Man.
like my Macho Man?
Hell yeah. Macho Man Randy Savage, a legend.
Legend.
But so the other thing is they're very clear in this book, and we'll probably talk about this just a little bit as well. You don't have to be a fan of wrestling to like get this RPG. If you can think of a silly character, are good at trash talking, and can like imagine yourself bouncing around a ring, this game is for you.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like if you were to pull this from like the fantasy side, this is like a bard going into a ring with another bard, and they're just throwing blows while like mocking each other and just being super flamboyant about the entire thing, and like they've got personas and stuff. Like that's how I imagined it when I was reading the history of the wrestling while I was reading this book.
Yeah, that's actually another kind of fun thing. If nothing else, it's a really fun RPG book to read. It features 2 essays, one about the history of wrestling and one about role-playing games. Because they say in the intro, it's like, you might be a wrestling fan who has no idea what a role-playing game is, or you might be a role-playing game fan who has no idea what wrestling is. Read these articles, and they're like fun, and they're well-written, and they're light and breezy.
Yeah,
and then
it's actually one of the big bit, or like that's in my opinion one of the greater parts of this, because I went into this not knowing a damn thing about professional wrestling. And I kind of came out the other end kind of like, oh, okay, I get the appeal. I like this. I'm on board.
Do I gotta watch some pro wrestling? So yeah, and then real quick, I'm gonna just go over like basically what the system is like.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so Worldwide Wrestling is based on the Powered by the Apocalypse system.
Yes.
Which we have talked about before. We if you're interested, we do have like a whole season where we kind of talk about and break down a Powered by the Apocalypse system. But as one of the things about One Shot is we kind of are going to kind of put them into practice as well as talking about them in theory.
Yeah.
So we're just going to give a quick overview about how this system works. There are 3 sort of big aspects that I'm going to highlight in the Powered by the Apocalypse. The first one is that all of the Powered by the Apocalypse games use D6s. Or your standard 6-sided die. So if you have a game of Monopoly at your house, you can play you can play Worldwide Wrestling or really any other Powered by the Apocalypse game.
Yeah.
Because of this, another thing about Powered by the Apocalypse is that it is nice small numbers. I believe that you can't have an individual skill higher than +3.
That is correct.
That is correct. Excellent. And this is kind of nice just because like I know that sometimes, role-playing games have a reputation of like you need a master's degree in math. I feel like that is becoming, well, depending on the system, and this is going to be something we investigate as we do this as well. I feel like that's something that's going to become increasingly less true over time. But still, it's a nice starting thing. And then finally, and this is something I think's always been really cool about the Apocalypse is playbooks. So they kind of give you prefabricated characters, which I know if you're a veteran role player can sometimes maybe feel like a little bit of a drag. But you get to put your own level of customization on it. You get to determine where they're from, what their look is. You get to choose some of their skills, and you get to assign their skill points to 4 categories, which is look, or how cool you are, what power, or how strong you are, kayfabe, or how well you are at selling the fake reality, and then work, which is how well you work with others to sell moves that are look difficult or dangerous. So yeah, Cody, jump in here, my man.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said before, I kind of came into this not knowing literally anything about it. I like the Powered by the Apocalypse engine, as it is fairly easy in most. I put quotations over that because I'm sure there is a Powered by the Apocalypse game that I will find that is complicated as shit. But in most cases, if it's got the PBTA tag on it, chances are the game's going to do a really good job at giving you a place to start, a little bit of customization in there, although ideally that customization just kind of like further cements the playbook, or in this case, they call it the gimmick, which is kind of like the wrestler terminology for like how they act in and out of the ring.
Yeah, it's your persona.
Yeah, it's your persona. And so what's really cool about this system is typically the game master or the dungeon master or whoever's like kind of in charge of the show kind of takes a different role in this game. And that can be true for a lot of the Powered by the Apocalypse style games. But in this game, they are the creative, and their role is they're basically the bookie for this episode of, worldwide wrestling. And so basically what happens is, you get all your players together and all the wrestlers, and, you have like a roster of wrestlers, and it's the GM or the creative's role to basically create the episode of worldwide wrestling. So like you have vignettes that you do, like there's a lot of there are two different like parts of the game. There's your on stage play where like you actually wrestle and you try to woo the crowd by also kicking the crap out of the other guy. And then there's the offstage encounters, which are like supposed to be like those old school like vignettes or like promos of like the wrestlers being like, yeah, I'm gonna kick the shit out of the Dwayne The Rock Johnson because I'm from heaven or whatever, or whatever fucking fantasy you want to throw on there.
You're so ready, Cody.
I am. I haven't decided if I'm gonna just be Bonesaw McGraw from Spider-Man or
hell yeah.
I'm
jazzed.
I haven't, back in my college days, I had a notorious nickname of, if I had too much to drink, I was Bonesaw McGraw, because that accent or that like persona would come out as I would try to like fake wrestle people. Not like actually wrestle people, because that like borders on like weird shit that I'm like not comfortable with normally.
Sure.
But like I definitely do like the, oh yeah, Bonesaw is ready, and I like fucking like come at people and like get in their face and like, oh yeah. So like I think I've been training for this moment ever since I hit like 18 or 21.
I for one am excited to yeah, exactly. The no crimes here.
No crimes here. The other cool thing is that even though the creative is in charge of like setting up how the game goes, like basically the encounters, if you will, if you want to put it into like more abstract like RPG concepts,
Gametic language.
Yeah. So they set everything up. They also set up who wins and who loses each fight.
Yeah.
And then while this is all happening, the players have abilities to kind of basically twist what the creative is trying to do, and the creative's job is to like make it look like everything was going according to plan. Yeah, like you like and maybe this is from my tech theater days, like you always just, if something went wrong, you just kind of pretended nothing went wrong and everything is fine. Like no one's gonna notice unless they're like, were in the production and then showed up to said production, and they don't give a fuck. So one of the mechanics that I wanted to kind of bring up, because it's very cool. I like it. It's called momentum.
Yes,
and
me too.
It's so basically
that's on my list.
Basically momentum is this currency that you acquire and spend just about as fast as you can get it. And the idea is that like if you botch a roll during your off stage or on stage shows, you can spend momentum to change the value of the die to try to hit the next threshold of like success. You also, ideally, what will happen is while you're playing or during the actual wrestling matches, whoever's supposed to win the fight has to do their quote unquote finisher move, which doesn't get any bonuses to the roll. So ideally what you want to do is you want to like spend momentum and be gaining momentum so that when you finally get to the end, you have a couple extra points to be like, oh, fuck, I didn't roll high enough. I'm going to use momentum to make my finishing move look rad, because ultimately the way, or one of the primary ways you advance is by how fucking cool you are during the show, not necessarily about who wins or who loses. And I think momentum is a very cool mechanic that kind of like facilitates that, like, you know, that stage show effect.
Sure. Yeah. I also think that it's kind of cool in that it kind of pushes you to take some risks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you'll want to do things that like like, for instance, if you want to do like a very technical move and you're not necessarily statted for work, if memory, the work stat,
that's correct.
You can do that. And if you succeed, you know, you might get some cool shit, like some cool rewards, because like a lot of the quote unquote moves have like rewards tied to them, like, oh, you gain momentum or you gain heat, which, if memory serves, heat is like an advancing mechanic for like your character, like for character development. And you use heat to gain audience, which then you use to like get new abilities and levels and stuff like that.
Yeah, so heat, for like very basic, in very basic terms, is like your level of rivalry with another wrestler.
Yeah.
And the idea is that as you build heat with another wrestler, like the crowd is going to get more into it because you're both like putting it all out on the line. And the more heat you have with another wrestler, the more the audience wants to see you. And then when you hit 4 heat with another wrestler, you both gain an audience, basically meaning you're both becoming more popular because people are like chomping at the bit. Like, people showed up to your wrestling promotion for the Monday night show and they're saying in the line as they're waiting, boy, howdy, I really hope that we get to see, you know, Cody's I hope that we get to see like, Mongo Madness fight, you know, like the flying dart or whatever.
Right.
Because people really want to watch you.
Exactly. And the heat, I like the the way you level up in the game is not like whether you win and lose in all cases, because like that's typically how games work, is like you win, ergo your reward is to level up. But in this game, you're more trying to work the crowd and work with your coworkers, but also creating this persona, because like some of the gimmicks are like the anti-hero, where like you don't give a fuck about the other people, you're just like there to like have a good time and whatever, and but like that's all part of the bit. And
sure.
You know, the other wrestlers are in on it, but like also like you gotta sell it. So like it's very cool to be like, your job isn't necessarily to win. Your job is to be so over the top and so dramatic with the whole event that the creative is like, fuck, no, you need to win because like everyone fucking loves you.
Exactly right. You've become so popular. And I think so another basic terminology thing is like the hero of a match is called the babyface, often shortened to face. And the bad guy is called, or the underhanded person is the heel. And like they say in the book straight up, like faces don't necessarily have to be good guys, but they have to be noble guys. And heels don't necessarily have to be bad guys, but they don't want to, like they can cheat and they don't have to necessarily like worry about their honor.
Right, they can be underhanded with like the way they do things in the ring and whatever.
And so in like a perfect world, you're supposed to cheer for the face and cheer against the heel, but there are some heels who are just so incredibly popular that like you can't help it. Like the heel wins and people are more excited than like you know what? Want to hear a crazy thing? For the majority of his run, The Rock was a heel.
Yeah, that's what I was reading that somewhere. I don't remember. Is that in the book?
I believe it's in that little essay.
Yeah, so another
But
cool
like
thing
he
about
was
that.
so wildly popular that like people are just like, no, we want The Rock to win. Like I don't care if he's a bad guy and calling me like lame and like a dork or whatever. Like he's so good.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Can you really smell what The Rock is cooking?
God, that was the thing that almost got me into wrestling as a kid.
I mean, and his
Um,
fucking eyebrow. I saw an
mhm.
interview with Dwayne Johnson, and someone asked him like, how did he like, or like, is like the stuff that he did in wrestling like still things that he can like do today? And like he just like no questions asked, like did the fucking eyebrow thing, and I was just like, oh, oh, it's
Oh, he knew
like,
exactly what they wanted.
oh yeah, he is a crowd pleaser. Except for maybe in
Oh,
Scorpion King, but like I don't, that's not really his fault.
one other thing I'd like to talk about real quick.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to get your feelings on the announcer role. Um, I will give my thoughts real quick, and then I'll let you speak to it. So, one of the things I think is kind of interesting is obviously like most RPGs, there's like a limit to how many people you can have at a time, right? You don't want it to be overwhelmingly huge because there's a lot of moving pieces to playing a role playing game and things like that. But one of the things with role playing games is that or with wrestling is that they often tend to be one on one. So let's say you have four friends together and you're playing worldwide wrestling and you have one guy fighting an NPC. um well, that means three people are out of the loop. But there is a role called the announcer, who is a person who is given like a microphone or a chit or whatever. And once per match, they can choose to put over one of the wrestlers fighting. Basically, what that means is that they can change one role to they can change like a failure, a botch, to a mixed success, and a mixed success to a total success. I think it's cool because I think it invests the other players in the action. Because it's neat that they're able to kind of not it makes them pay attention to what's going on, and it also gives them the ability to kind of like maybe help someone out, maybe even someone that they have heat with or something like that. Now the game does say that once they put someone over, they should give the microphone back. I think that in my game, or in games that I would run, I would allow them to keep the microphone but give them like another like chip or like a poker chip or something to toss back to me. And then they could continue commenting but not necessarily have the power to put someone over. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, Code.
So, yeah, this was an interesting concept because in most games, there isn't really an answer for when the. And granted, in most cases, games don't run in a one on one setting. In oftentimes you will find that the RPG is like the party is together always, but you know that's not how people work. People split up and they do different things. And in most games, there is not a way to deal with that. You just kind of have to like go with the punches and hope that things turn out. And I like that in a game that is designed with, a one-on-one wrestling match in mind, that there is this like not secondary, more of a tertiary role where like someone's commenting on the game. And especially in like a four-person scenario, it actually would be cool to do that, to do like uh what's the word I'm looking for, co-announcers, where like,
Yeah.
because like that was what's the fucking claymation wrestling show that was out like when we were kids?
Yeah, it's Celebrity
Yeah,
Deathmatch.
Celebrity Deathmatch, how there were always two of them. Like, it would actually
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to see how that game would play out if there were two announcers and you just kind of went back and forth
Yeah.
between the two, and like you only got to do that once. In terms of switching it off, it really depends on your group size.
Yeah.
I think to a certain degree, you I guess the way I would work it, if I had to, is if it was like three people, like if it's you, me, and someone else, and like it was like two of us, and then the creative wasn't part of the, or not the creative, but Um, my brain is just all over the place on this concept.
Mhm.
Basically, what I would do is, if it's four people, I would have the announcer, and once they did their one up, like the idea would be if there was another person out, they have the ability to basically jump in if they want. Otherwise, it's just kind of like fun commentary. But as you
Yeah.
get higher up, it would be interesting to see them do the like multiple news stations or whatever, like trying to get in and like watch it. Like I know it wouldn't happen like that, but like the
Uh-huh.
way the game or the way the Worldwide Wrestling was set up, like they have like a fake news crew that comes in that like
Mhm.
is like kind of anti this establishment, and they like have that on as like there's a heel announcer
Oh
who
yeah, that happens
everyone,
sometimes actually.
yeah, and like that would be a cool way to, if once you get to like 4, 5, and 6, like that's how you rotate the announcer, is like, okay, our friend David is gonna be, he's gonna be like, I announced for this fight, now I'm gonna give it to him since I kind of gave my token up, and he's gonna be the heel announcer for some fake news group that shows up and is like, oh man, what a bunch of tight asses not being able to, do the Thunderdog suplex or whatever. And like there's a lot of cool things you can do um to justify the weird like the turns being switched around for the announcer role.
Yeah.
So I would probably keep it as close to as is as possible, just because like I know the game is kind of balanced around that, or
Sure.
at least it is balanced to the point where they consider like, oh, well, how is the announcer going to, because like they had to make that announcer mechanic and make sure that to some degree it was balanced with the rest of the game. So I would be cautious about tweaking it, at least before playing it, because granted we're
Yeah.
seeing this from a, we have not touched the game yet, we're just looking at like what's on the book, which by the way the book is a great read. Again, like
Yeah, for sure.
I learned a lot about wrestling in the past couple weeks that I didn't know, and I'm like kind of jonesing to like maybe like, I don't know, when we have a free day or whatever, watching some pro wrestling or whatever.
Hell
Um,
yeah. Come
that would
join
be
me.
that would be pretty rad.
Um
So,
yeah,
anyways,
for sure. Um so yeah, maybe we'll continue these thoughts at a later time or
yeah. So at this point in the way we're doing the one shot is we've looked at the book, we've read it cover to cover, and granted we haven't played it yet, so like I'm excited for it. There isn't anything that I'm worried about at all except for maybe our size group, because I think
yeah.
we're either doing 2/3, so it's me and Joe and
Mhm.
maybe a guest, if we can swing that with how things
Yeah,
today
sure.
are
With the
working. um
exactly. Yeah.
so that would be the only thing that I'm worried about, but I think we can make it work. And I'm really
Yeah.
excited to play this. So either the next episode is going to just be us getting right into it, or we may talk a little bit about the characters that we're creating, how we created
Yeah.
them, or we'll leave it to, you know, and then once we've done the one shot, we'll go back, review the things that we talked about, see how we felt about the mechanics. That like I'm curious how momentum's going to work when it's actually in
Mhm.
game. um I'm
Yeah.
also like curious to see how like heat and the audience system works, like how easy is it for somebody to get up to those ranks. So we will talk about
Sure.
that after the one shot.
Yeah, and I'm also excited because this is gonna be my first technical time being a GM. So
Ooh, yeah, being the
yeah.
creative for the first time, huh?
I'm taking the reins on this one. But
Yeah.
yeah, hey Cody,
Yeah.
uh I know this is our first episode of One Shot, but is this the first episode of the podcast?
No, not at all. So here, the two of us, we are part of the Fandom Roulette channel, and basically what that means is there is a ton of other nerdy content. If you liked what you heard here and you want to learn more about future episodes, or just go through our backlog of our Fandom Roulette podcast where we talk about a myriad of nerdy things, you can do that at our website at www.fandomroulette.com. We have our little bios there if you want to learn a little more about us. We have all of our episodes of the podcast up. We will be posting the new episodes of our new 4 shows as well on there. So everything will be readily available on the website. If you want to send us some letters about, maybe what the next one shot is, or any questions you had about us talking about worldwide wrestling, you can send us an email at fanroulettepodcast@gmail.com. And if you are uncomfortable with giving out your email, totally get that. I'm with you. You can go to the bottom of our website page and you can just fill out like your tag, your internet handle, if you will, a subject, and basically what you want to talk about, and you can send it to us email free. If you're looking for, you're like, oh, this is super cool, and I want to share this with people. We're on iTunes, we're on SoundCloud, we're on just about everything. We're on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Fandom Roulette. And on the social media side of things, we're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So if you're looking for hot, spicy memes or just what I'm up to, sometimes I know at one point I posted basically what I was wearing in Animal Crossing one day, which was really fun. I believe I was wearing a dress. Can't remember.
I just made my villager for Animal Crossing.
Nice. But if you're looking for just like any other content, you can check out our social media. All of that can also be found on our website at the bottom of the page.
Heck yeah. And also please remember to like, rate, review, subscribe, ring the bell, leave a nice comment. That falls under review, but whatever. We're trying out some new stuff. We'd love to hear some feedback on what you think about the new shows and the new formats and things like that. I'm personally really excited about One Shot just because there's just a whole swath of role-playing games out there.
Oh my god, there's so many, and there's so many different things we can do. Like this is going to be a lot of fun. I can feel it in my bones.
Yeah. There's some, so I think this is a fun little way to start off, and especially as a person who has spent a lot of time just kind of like looking at them from afar. And not knowing quite like where to start. Hopefully this is useful for you guys as well to see if there's something that you may have been eyeing but didn't necessarily want to commit to. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode of One Shot from Fandom Roulette, a subsidiary of Fandom Roulette. Signing off for One Shot. This is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.